On 2nd of November, we had a class in forced connections. So we were put in groups of 3 or 4 and we were asked to brainstorm and write down our thoughts on 3 streams: matter, material, and method. Then we were, by a roll of dice, so in other words, totally randomly, given one pick of lottery of matter, method, and material. And I got assigned photosynthesis as my matter, installation art as the method, and data as the material. When I got picked this lot, I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? What am I going to do? Photosynthesis was not a topic I would naturally have chosen. So, yeah, my first thought was, oh, how am I going to show data with photosynthesis and create installation art? And I even thought like really wild thoughts, like, for example, if I was an alien or if I was a Generation X person, what would photosynthesis mean to me? And really, photosynthesis, these days in this very Instagram heavy time of synthesis of photos, right? So that's easy to do, data with a synthesis of photos, and I can create some nice installation art. And I thought that might be quite interesting. But then I decided to read up a little bit about photosynthesis, about which I knew pretty much nothing other than what I'd learned in my 6th grade in school. And as I started reading, I was getting more and more interested. So before I move on to photosynthesis, I want to say that I also explored what is the meaning of the word data and what is installation art. So for installation art, I looked at the Tate's definition, and it was about a temporary but large structure which could have movement, but what I think one of the key factors was that it's impermanent. Data, according to the English dictionary, is a set of facts which is believed, and it can form the basis of a philosophy, or it can form the basis of some calculations, and you may arrive at the facts through experimentation. So having understood vaguely what data is and what installation art is, I just then moved on to photosynthesis. And what caught my interest was 3 things. The first is that I'm very interested in physics and in topics like wave-particle duality and quantum physics. And I learned something remarkable. Photosynthesis is the only process known to man which is 100% efficient. What that means is that if a plant is hit with 1 photon of light, the chlorophyll is able to transmit all of this without any leakage. Normally, when you have transmission of light or any form of energy, there's heat generated, there's sound generated, and a lot of the energy is lost in the transmission, not in photosynthesis. And one of the hypotheses is that this may be because of the wave-particle nature of quantum physics. So this got me really, really very interested. The second thing which really got me interested is that photosynthesis is a process that the plant is doing for itself. It's doing it to feed itself, essentially for survival. But in this process of survival, what it's doing is it's benefiting pretty much the whole world. And I really like this idea. So yes, I wanted to explore this, how we are connected with the whole universe, and what we do for ourselves affects the whole universe, and what the whole universe does affects us. So this is the second stream of thought that got me really interested. The third thing that got me interested is that chlorophyll and hemoglobin have exactly the same structure. The structure of the molecule is identical, save one difference. Chlorophyll has a central magnesium ion, and hemoglobin has a central iron atom. Other than that, they are identical. Now, if you think about it, both chlorophyll and hemoglobin do the same job. They are transporting something. So chlorophyll transports light from when it absorbs all the way to a reaction center where food is produced for the plant. And hemoglobin absorbs oxygen and transports it through blood. But there are 2 essential differences. The first is that chlorophyll is blue-green and hemoglobin is red. And this comes because of the quantum structure. And the second difference is that chlorophyll helps the plant in being a primary producer, and hemoglobin makes the animal a secondary consumer. So I thought this is so interesting, and I wanted to explore the idea of this pigmentation and color and how these differences help in efficient transmission of a component which is essential to the survival of a organism, and yet it is affected by and it affects the whole universe. So my first stage of ideas came from a variety of sources. Of course, consulting the dictionary, the internet. I read some scientific journals, which I got from the library. I also got some from Julian at the Grow Lab. Then I discussed my ideas with the people in my team and a lot of my friends and my family, actually. And for example, David, who's in our class at Central St. Martin's, he sent me an article on jellyfish and photosynthesis. My dad sent me a book on Vedant, which has this most beautiful verse on how it says that we live because we eat, and for us to eat, plants must grow. For plants to grow, there must be photosynthesis. For there to be photosynthesis, the sun must shine. For the sun to shine, hydrogen must fall. For hydrogen to fall, the universe must exist. So the whole universe is responsible for our survival. This is so beautiful. It's like, to imagine that they knew this in 5,500 years ago in the Vedas. I also got a lot of ideas from talking to my cousin, who's a microbiologist, and really just talking to my family and friends and reading up a lot of materials, looking at pictures, and so on. Thank you. And yes, I also picked up a lot of ideas when I went to the Grow Lab at Central St. Martin. And after that, I went to Hyde Park and I started collecting all sorts of samples from the pond, from the algae, from the ducks. And I came back and did some experiments at home.